The Intel i9-9900K is going to have 8 cores and 16 threads and may overclock all the way to 5 GHz. Welcome to Hari's Hobbies. First of all, what even is the 9900K? Well, this is expected to be the chip that has been long awaited to fill in the space of the octa-core CPU for the mainstream platform from Intel. It was originally expected that the i7-9700K would fill this spot and have 8 cores and 16 threads, but the 9700K is actually only going to have 6 cores and 12 threads, and this CPU is actually going to fill in that space. So, is the 9900K worth it, and should you wait for it and consider buying it? First, let's take a look at the performance, because if the performance isn't good, then it doesn't really matter what price or release date is really associated with the CPU. And in the past, Intel has always delivered great CPUs which deliver great performance. Their CPU upgrades are not always as big as we would like them to be, and their CPUs are expensive, especially compared with the Ryzen. However, there really is no argument that Intel CPUs are bad or that they don't perform well. Usually, Intel CPUs are a lot better at overclocking and much better optimized for productivity-oriented programs and apps when compared with Ryzen. So, starting off, what is the expected clock speed? Well, looking back at Intel's last 8-core CPU, which was the 7820X, its base clock was 3.6 GHz and its max clock was 4.3 GHz. But that was before the launch of the Ryzen 7 2700X. The Ryzen 7 2700X has a base clock of 3.7 GHz and a max clock of 4.3 GHz and is also an octa-core processor with 16 threads. And as a result, I really doubt that Intel would want to release a CPU, especially a flagship CPU, that is not as good as AMD's flagship CPU. So keeping that in mind, I definitely believe that the 9900K will have a base clock which is higher than 3.7 GHz and a max turbo clock which is higher than 4.3 GHz. We can probably expect a base clock of about 4 GHz and a max turbo frequency of 4.5 to 4.7 GHz. Plus, Intel CPUs are usually able to overclock past the max official boost clock, and as a result, even if the max official boost clock is only 4.5 GHz, most people will be easily able to get to 4.7 or 4.8 GHz if they have sufficient cooling. Finally, some lucky people will be able to hit the 5 GHz mark. If Intel offers a higher official max turbo speed, like 4.7 GHz, then a good chunk of people will actually be able to hit 5 GHz. So, considering all that, the Intel i9-9900K is going to be a really powerful octa-core CPU which will most likely be able to overclock all the way to 4.7 to 5 GHz. As a result, it should easily be able to beat out the 2700X by a good margin, especially considering Intel's better optimization. However, unfortunately, there is going to be one big catch, and that is price, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. The 9900K will easily cost at least $450, and it will most likely come in at $500 or maybe even more than that. Based on current Z370 motherboard website page updates, it seems as if the Z370 platform will be able to handle 9000 series CPUs, but I have a feeling that that is only for the i3, i5, i7 series and not the i9 series. The i9-9900K will have 2 extra cores, which will consume more power, and on top of that, I bet Intel wants to ensure some sales for the Z390 platform. So I feel like the 9900K will only be supported by the Z390 platform and not the Z370 platform. As a result, you will most likely have to buy a new Z390 motherboard and a good CPU cooler, especially if you want to get to high clock speeds. Thus, even though the performance is great, it is going to come in at a premium price, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. Finally, when is this CPU coming out? Should you wait for it, and is it worth it? Well, this CPU will most definitely come in October, considering last year's generation's release, which was also in October, and I really doubt that Intel would want to miss out on the holiday sales of 2018 by releasing the 9900K at a later time in 2018. And as for if this is worth it for you, it really comes down to personal preference. If you want the best mainstream CPU available on the market and price really isn't a problem, then the 9900K will be a great CPU for you. But if you are looking for value or don't want to spend that much money, then the 2700X is still much superior. So it really comes down to personal preference. What do you value more? The performance that you get or the value that you get? Lastly, something else to also consider is Ryzen 3rd generation, because Ryzen 3rd generation is expected to be a huge upgrade over Ryzen 2nd generation, because it's going to be moving on to 7nm process. And there are rumors suggesting that it may hit all the way to 5 GHz, and it may even have 12 or 16 cores. However, the Ryzen 3rd generation isn't coming out till next March, so it really is quite a wait. But make sure to keep that in mind before you make a final decision. But that's just what I think. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that you should wait for the 9900K or the 3800X? Or do you think that both of those chips are overpriced, overpowered, unnecessary junk, and that Ryzen 5 is really where it's at? Make sure to comment down below what you guys think, because I do read all my comments and I'm curious as to what you guys think, so make sure to post your thoughts. Also, if you guys like this video, then make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing if you would like to see more videos just like this one. But until next time, bye.